Monday, August 11, 2014, in session. Ms. Ely, would you read the
Our
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
That's the,
I have to get up to Eagle.
she had asked me to do it, and I told her.
Yeah, it's all right. You were talking, so I just did it. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah.
Public comments, Mr. Floyd Burnside, he'd called the office before and wanted to know if he could address the court's public comments, and I told the secretary to advise him that he could, that we couldn't address anything in court, but he could certainly address the court. You may have it.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. Take one and hand them around. I think there's enough for everybody to see. I got home up here by Bentwood, my commissioner's here, and that's what I found. And I think you'll see why I reacted the way I did. When I was 8 years old, I remember seeing that tree, climbing that tree. 12 of them were laying on their side. And the pipeline company, I said, "What are you doing? These aren't in the easement." And he said, "Well, I'll talk to my boss." This man said he had a permit. His name is Mike Kavanaugh. He's the permit agent. And I have yet to find any permit. The state of Texas requires anybody who works on a tree for hire to have a license. But they knocked down 12 ancient oak trees. And I am here as a grandfather. I don't have that far on this earth, but I do have 5 grandchildren who would like to climb that tree. They're all gone now. I've got a lawyer. I would like to find out whether perhaps somebody could get in a letter writing campaign to this pipeline company. They ought to work on their easement, wouldn't you think? This tree had nothing to do with their pipeline. If you wanted to write them, I have their address. I can hand you, I'll pass around my lawyer's name. It's too late for the trees. But I know this is going on. This must be going on all the way from San Antonio to Corpus Christi, Texas. And there is no reason to destroy a tree. We said the Lord's Prayer a moment ago. You know, only God can make a tree like that. I have a survey that Mr. Murray gave me of our property, done for Don Simon back in the 1700s. And those trees are shown as part of the, I guess you could say, landmarks on that survey. So these trees were there when the pipeline was laid originally in 1939. John Conley signed the paper for the easement originally in 1939. Of course, they're laying a new pipeline because that one's so old, but they have no right to be destroying your trees or my trees. Here's the name of a lawyer if you've got the same problem. That's really all I had to say, Marvin. Thank you very much.
The 3 certificates, please. Participation, the V.G. Young Institute of County Government awards certificate to Paul W. Fowle, that's for completing 13 hours of education and training during the 80th Annual South Texas County Judges and Commissioners Association Conference, June 10th through the 12th, 2014, South Padre Island, Texas. I'm Douglas L. Field, Director of Texas A&M Agri-Life Infrastructure. Congratulations. Item 4, approve bond, Alexander R. Hallenstead.
He's he replaced
Oh,
Fidel Esparza as Assistant County Attorney for Criminal.
Commissioner Gomez, Commissioner Fowle, all in favor?
Hallenstead. Sorry, Hallenstead. Hallenstead. I don't recall
Extension Act, item 5, extension activity report. Anyone there, copy of it? That's a report given to all the commissioners of the activity of the Texas Agri-Life Extension Services Station here in Wilson County, and the many different things that they perform for us, brush control, show animals, 4-H activities and so forth. So that's. And item 6, public hearing, courthouse annex 1, 2, 3, updates, comments, and questions. This is a public hearing. Anyone having any comment or question in the audience may do so at this time.
Judge, did you hear anything how it stands with the negotiation with Keller and the architect, are they coming on the numbers, for the justice center?
They're working on them. They're out, and they're working on them, and the remodeling of the courthouse, both at the same time. Item 7, Sherry A. Borcher for Emma Garcia, Executive Director, Camino Real Community Services, discuss and take action on the Wilson County Local Match Commitment Annual Presentation.
I believe that she made the presentation before, Judge, but it was only for discussion and presentation, so we put it back for action. If y'all would go ahead and also.
Motion, Commissioner Wiley, second Commissioner Morales, all in favor? For the public, the Camino Real is our mental health services in the county, and we're obligated to pay them $85,000 for those services. However, the buildings that we supply over meet our match, so that's what the presentation was, so that's a good thing. Item 8, William D. Kenny, Commissioner, ESD number 2. A, request sales tax election for ESD number 2, resolution number 14-02, a resolution of the Wilson County Emergency Service District number 2, calling for an election to be held within the district on November 4th, 2014, to submit a proposition to establish a sales and use tax of 2% for purposes authorized by Chapter 775 of the Texas Health and Safety Code, making provision for the conduct of the election and providing an effective date.
Mr. Kenny,
I'd
would you
rather
address
say-
that?
Now, we had voted on a resolution at our July board and presented it to Ms. Martinez on the 25th of July. We need the election, so you had sent me, I've got the maps. She's got a list of all the members of the district, and so we're ready to go. With the ad valorem taxes that we're getting to support the ESD, because we support both fire and EMS in our district, and the cost of contracts, it looks like that we're going to be slowly, unless the taxes go up significantly, we're going to be running really very short of money, and we can't build the substations that we want, and we can't buy the equipment we want, we can't get the ISO readings down, so the house insurance is cheaper, and this is the reason for it. It's 8.25 in Floresville and San Antonio, everywhere you go around, but we district is 625. This would put it at the state maximum, and it would help us. Might only come up to about 90,000, that's the low estimate from the comptroller's office. So, that will help.
Yes, Judge, if I can address it now that he has spoken. I sent a memo to Dana, and just as her reply, Ms. Martinez, my understanding that the Board of Directors of ESD number 2 have voted to have an election to collect a 2% sales and use tax. They have provided you with the requested language of the proposition in their resolution dated July 21st. At this point, as the elections officer, it would be your responsibility to place it upon the ballot. It is not the responsibility of the county to verify the available tax rate with the comptrollers, but that of the ESD. As to the cost, that would be allocated in the same manner as any other taxing entity. And we did look into that, Judge, and they would be responsible for all of the proper fees. This morning, if the commissioners are okay with it, we will need a motion, because in order for me to proceed, I have to have a blessing of the court.
Any other comments? Motion?
Does it sound like we can do it countywide?
Motion, Commissioner Wiley, second, Commissioner Gomez, all in favor?
Along with that, Judge, like he said, he did provide me with the names of the people that he has the maps that he'll turn over to you in a little bit. But in also in doing that, Judge, we would need to enter into a contract. Mr. Rosenberg has worked on that diligently over the weekend. I have looked at it. I do not have any problems. There are a couple of minor changes. We did check with Catherine, and
It wasn't received on like Friday, and it hadn't been looked at now.
in that particular case, Judge, would it be proper for you to allow us to get together with Dana and pass an order if we have to make any minor changes? Because the only
A
thing that I
motion,
could see
a
is.
motion pending the approval of the county attorney on this. Commissioner Powell, second, Commissioner Morales, all in favor? Ms. Catherine, you understand that, motion carried on with your
Yes.
office approval. Item B, request to enter into a contract with Elas Martinez, Wilson County Clerk, to conduct an election and pay all necessary costs for said election. Appoint election personnel in polling places, discuss and take action on the appointment of, I got the next one. All right, it's stamped right over.
Yes, that is correct. And we'll move that to the
Oh, that's no
next.
problem.
Okay. When we get ready to do the election personnel, number 14 and 15, Judge clearly addressed that at that time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's just that as a formality, we do need to do that, but we can do that.
Okay. Item 9 then, we tabled item B of 8. Item 9 is discuss and take action on appointment of Devin King as Constable Precinct 2. Mr. King sent a letter requesting chief. As I understand it, you're on the ballot to run as a Republican for the constable's office, and the Republican chair said that the office was held by a Republican that was deceased, and so they requested that they be placed on the ballot for appointment to finish out the term, and that he would be seeking office as of the first year, as of November. Is there a motion? Motion, Commissioner Fowle, second, Commissioner Morales, all in favor? Discuss and take action on TxDOT to do a study to lower the speed limit on Highway 97 East.
Yeah, I've been approached by some of the residents out there, practically showing them where the houses are. try to get the speed limit lowered. We have to go through Tech Dot to try to do a study to see if, because the school buses and the concern of the people that live right there. We can pass it, give letters and Tech Dot to do a study to try to lower that speed limit up to 970 on the.
So entire 97
No,
east or
it's probably about.
from like 5:39 a.m. or something
Yes,
like
sir.
that?
We would expect it all to go, how we go, that John Deere and that area right through the main part, that they're talking about.
I've got it.
70 years of little west.
They were like the kids, John Deere, and
That travel
place, you know. But apparently they only go at 5 miles.
Okay.
So would you do a resolution in support of they're doing a study?
He's asking them to do, so we asking, kind of, we asking them to start this, we live up there, but we,
Okay, motion to request Tech Dot to do a study on Highway 97 east out past John Deere area. Motion, Commissioner Biles, second, Commissioner Wiley, all in favor?
all right. Item 11, Nicky Store, Wilson County Library, discuss and take action on opening branch library in the city of Polk.
I gave everybody the little brochure. I have some extras if you'd like to pass them on. This is a little bit of background. Mr. Meppel built the little free library that's on the front. It's been outside the Chinese office. And Mr. Meppel would like to let the library of the county use office space, about a 10 by 13 space, for a branch library. So I talked to the county attorney's office. They said we're going to do a lease rent for no charge. Mr. Becker would take care of the utilities for us. And for the first year, I worked out my schedule. I can do this location all hours a week at different times throughout the day. To see if it works. If everything goes okay and the services is picking up, then in the 2016 budget, maybe we could ask for an actual part-time employee to work it.
So you're working 12 hours a week, is that what you're saying?
Right,
So you're gonna be working that library?
yes,
Nobody else, only you?
just me. And the hours would be, I think I put in the brochure, it'd be like Tuesday from 8 to noon. Tuesday 8 to noon, Wednesday through the lunch, and then Thursday in the afternoon.
Aside from accommodating the citizens of Polk, does it do anything from the standpoint of our library and our requirements with the state whenever you have another additional satellite location?
Yes, it would give us more space to put items on the shelves, so we can meet that basic requirement of 1-to-1. We could probably even go up a little bit more. State standards, you have the basic level, which is the 1-to-1 ratio, and then they have 2 levels above that as suggested standards, so we could be above the basic library.
Is this gonna include any electronics or just books?
I have feelers out for quotes of what it would cost to put Wi-Fi in there. The library has 2 laptops left over from that broadband grant that's complete that we could take with us. Judge Kennedy offered, said we could tie into hers, but I'm afraid we might overrun her limitations.
We're gonna check with Verizon and find out what our limits are.
Right. But I do have quotes that are supposed to come back in
So, IT person's involved in checking on
We
the
checked it
different
when
things
it
for
is
you.
out.
And what happens after, whenever we build the library here? Is that facility still gonna be operating, or?
Yes, there is a component to the library's current operating system that we can turn on, that people can say, look through the card catalog and say, well, I live in Polk, but I would like to reserve this item, but can I pick it up in Polk? Because that's where I live. And then the next day that I go there, I'll just take it with me and you can pick it up. So I would like to leave this small satellite there, even if we get, when this building is renovated.
Have you had inquiries from Laverne about doing something similar?
Yes, this summer I had one lady say that she wants to spearhead trying to find a location for us that meets these similar requirements. So everything is ready to go if we can find a location.
And you said it's not gonna affect our budget, it is not.
Not at this time.
And what I would hope, I'll of course be gone by the time it comes up again. But what I would like to see is all of this be under assessment as to the service, to the amount that it's costing, or gonna cost and everything. That if it is truly a service that's worth the money there, then it needs to be evaluated. But if it's not, it also needs to be evaluated and not acted upon.
Right, that's why for 1 year I would like to take the statistics to let us know how many people actually walk through the store, how many people actually get the Wi-Fi service. And at the end of 1 year, so this time next year, either works or doesn't.
Well, and it goes much deeper than how many people come through the door, because I've forever heard these numbers, and these children come in on a little rope in there and go through the library, and they're each a number and everything, and you know, it can be very skewed, you know.
Well, the thing is too, that with these chosen hours, we're not really servicing the individuals who commute, because it is during the day.
Right.
So I'm imagining this for the older citizens who don't want to drive all the way to Forest.
But I can see it can be a very, very good thing, but I'm just saying, you know,
Yes, I agree.
take more into it than just the numbers that come through the
Oh,
door
yeah,
and so forth.
oh, yeah.
What's the condition of the
It's good, it's good. Mr. Meckel has already cleaned out a room, because when we first started talking about this, we were gonna take that little free library concept where you take one, bring one, take one in this room. And I just, if you're gonna be doing that, and you're gonna have it unmanned with the chance of vandalism and everything, you might as well try to put a person there and give them library services.
Also, or does it comply also with that ADA, for the handicap?
It should, it should. We will make sure that
It's in what the city offices, next door.
it's next to it.
Did it used to be a library?
No.
Why are there bookshelves?
We have leftover.
Oh, they're not at there, they're
Right.
with you.
We have, leftover shelf parts, but we don't have the end parts. So, the same gentleman that built the little free library is going to make the bookcases to use those extra shelving pieces.
And we have started a draft of a contract if y'all are in favor of it, and it would be brought to you when it's signed, just, saying that we won't pay anything, we'll use the facilities for a year, and we'll be responsible for the books, what we put in it, but he'll be responsible for the building.
That be with Mr. Meckel?
Yes.
Is there a motion? Commissioner Fowles, second Commissioner Vidal,
Thank you.
Item 12, Tom Duke, Wilson County Auditor. Item A, review and approve engagement letter with Buyer and Company for the year ending September 30th, 2014.
Judge, that's for our audit. Buyer company is about 50% cheaper than most of what our other counties are paying, and proposed to do this, so we hired them to be our annual audit this year.
Okay. Any comments? Mr. Morales, all in favor? Item
Do you want me to send that to the board?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Okay, yes, sir.
Item B, discuss and take action on offering COL to new employees hired after a certain date, i.e. 3 months, 6 months, before the fiscal year ends.
Judge, you see what else it costs a living wage, like the 3% or 5% that we've been granted, we just wanted to try to have a cutoff date of employees hired up to June 30th or August 30th, whatever that they want to be entitled to, because they are starting so close to the new.
If they started at starting salary and they're here when the fiscal year turns, I think it would throw your bookkeeping off not to include them in whatever.
Yes, sir, so we need to come up with a date. If we want, our insurance right now is 90 days before they can get on the insurance policy. Maybe that might be something the commissioners would consider, and they can discuss among themselves what would be fair.
My opinion is that if we're going to change it, that this year, that we not make it effective before September the 1st. Because I don't have anyone, well, yeah, I probably do. But I think there are some people who might have been hired, understanding that there's typically a pay increase, and because we normally don't pay a lot, and so sometimes that there will be a pay increase of some sort. So I think if we are gonna change it, that we ought to make it this year effective September the 1st, so that anybody that is hired would understand that what they're getting is what, they're not gonna get the cost of living increase. I think to make it retroactive, 90 days or whatever, would cause problems. And we had some of those problems last year.
And it would actually throw off your sequences of,
Right.
people being paid so high or everything.
I agree with September the 1st.
You're saying anybody hired before September 1st
Would get a pay increase.
Okay.
Because, here we are, it's August the 11th, so, you couldn't make it effective, I guess, August the 11th, but, that's sort of a weird time to do it. But if somebody hires someone in July and they're anticipating, then we're gonna have a situation where I have to go, if it were me, I have to go to the auditor, and say, look, I promised so-and-so, so we're gonna need to do an adjustment. And then once that happens, then you're gonna have, Ricky might have one, you might have one, whoever might have one. This way, if we establish September the 1st, then we know that if you're hired before September the 1st.
You're not in for whatever.
And supervisors should be aware of that as well. So,
Motion, Commissioner, comments, while y'all in favor? Item 13, John Holcomb, IT Director, discussion of potential action shall occur regarding entering into a customer agreement with the Texas Department of Information Services and the Texas NITUSA for the implementation of the Texas Pay Counter system, which will permit individuals who are paying the county to use a credit card to make payments in person or over the telephone.
Thank you. We've been working with the different county offices and the auditor's office and the county attorney's office on this. Page 11 has the basic summary of everything, the service fees and so forth. Basically, the cost of the county would be $62.50 per person who has a credit card reader, one time. It's a one-time fee. And then after that, the county basically doesn't pay anything for the service. The fees are passed to the constituents. So there's a transaction fee of $2 plus 2.25% on each transaction. Credit cards, debit cards are accepted, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express. And then if a office would like to be able to accept credit cards, this would make it available to them to do so with this service.
But what I recall, John and I discussed this Friday, I think, and if I recall, you told me that there was a flat fee that we were charging at the JP office.
Yes, sir.
And that is how much?
I believe the JP offices are
$5?
charging $5.
In order to get a credit.
And in some,
And what John also told me was that in some instances, someone has a $300 fine or whatever, that we end up losing money based upon that.
that with this system, you would have the basic fee and then the credit card charges, and having been in the business, 2.25% is not that bad, having been in business with credit cards, that would be passed to the constituent. So in a lot of instances where we're actually, as a county, losing money because of the percentage rate making it more than $5, this would be a no-gain situation, a zero-cost base
Now,
for the
you,
county.
I think you had mentioned to me that it wasn't going to include the JPs this time. Can they opt into it?
They could, yes, sir, if the JPs would like to use the service, they can. I'm not entirely 100% on that $5, it might be, more like $5.
I got a $5 sign, is it 5?
Yeah,
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's 5.
Oh, by the way, I'm in business with credit card company too. They keep dunning
me too.
So we want to roll it out for all the departments, and they'll have the JPs piggyback on it, to make sure it's running smoothly.
It would seem to me that if we were going to do it, that we would want all the JPs to do it, or it would be a situation where not 2 are doing it and 2 are not, or whatever. It ought to be a countywide policy, in my opinion.
Well, before we make that decision, I think we need to let the JP speak with unified voice as to what they want to do, you know.
It's 2 here today.
There's 2 here today,
Two here today.
but
I'm good with it. I just have a question. On that 2% with the $2 fee plus 2%, is it gonna be automatically calculated, or would each clerk have to figure out that 2.25%?
Yes, it automatically calculates, and the way it works basically is if you have a $50, $300 ticket, and you key in $300, it will add the $2 plus the 2.25% to the ticket automatically, and direct deposit into your bank account the $300.
That would be awesome.
Judge
So
Johnson,
we get no gain. If it's a $300 ticket, we get $300 in our account.
No loss, no gain.
Exactly.
Correct. And that's been the problem with credit cards in the past, is the credit card fees. That's partly why they haven't been accepted in other offices.
but what we do gain is the collection is there, and then it becomes between the credit card company and the individual that there's a problem, so it's a huge thing. Judge Jackson, do you think the other 2 and yourself would be?
Okay, the current $5 charge we're charging, the reason we have charged that is to keep from having to figure that in the office, keep from bookkeeping errors there. The statute has always been that we can charge the I think at one time it was 2.25. But when we first went to credit cards for the JP offices. But the reason we chose just the $5, to get covered, that's $5 whether you charge a dismissal fee, which is $20. Instead of $20, it's $25. If it's like a maximum traffic fine, which is $300, it's $305. Which you lose probably and you're not losing, because this is money that's, you're gonna get you could get the fine anyway. So it's not like we're going in the hole on it, it's just we're gonna be getting more money for it.
So are you in favor of staying where you are or changing?
Well, then also it's got an extra $2 that we be collecting too, so that'd be just, okay, we're gonna be collecting more money, so I'd be for it. If we could all, everybody can go to it, it's just changing from the credit card company we're using now to this.
So you're saying if you go into the credit card machine, you swipe the card, put in $300, then it'll come up with 300 and whatever it is, 305 plus 2.25%, and the secretaries or whoever, the assistants do not have to figure anything.
So
It's
you
there.
eventually charging like $7 for the JPs?
You should take the 5 off and charge the
Yeah,
percent
that's
for
what
the
he
credit
said.
card.
Well,
and
it
that's
won't be a
what
5
constituents-
anymore, the 5 will be gone.
But that's what he was
Understanding
trying to
it,
say,
too.
right?
The reason we didn't charge the percentage is
Right.
calculated there in the office. Instead of calculated, it's just easier to add the $5.
The $5. But
This, the 2 point,
Yeah, and
whatever
if
percent.
that-
is gonna
the
take
$5
place.
will come
on the $5, that's what we're trying to understand. That.
It just takes.
It's just gonna take place instead of the $5.
So in a lot of instances, if it's a minimum charge, then the citizen will be okay. If it's a maximum charge, then they're probably gonna pay a little more, but either way, if it's a $20 fine, we're gonna get $20. If it's a $300 fine, we're gonna get $300. And again, all
The business.
clerk or whoever it is that's doing it, all they have to do is put in $20 and it's automatically figured. They don't have to put the 2 or anything.
And on the receipt, it
It's just
shows
too
the
easy.
service.
The services.
Ms. Harlan?
Oh, no, I just wanted to tell y'all that, when we charge the $5, that's the most that we can charge. But a lot of months, the $5 service fee does not cover the charges from the bank. Sometimes it's a lot more. There's been months that the charges have been over $200 more than what we've collected for the service fees. So that way, if you do it this way, that charge is charged to the customer. And that, the reason why it's gonna figure it is so they can tell the customer what it is that what their final thing is gonna be.
And it's one thing, everyone needs to remember that the customers are people that stay, most cases stay in a violation of the law. And they have an option, they do not have to use credit cards, they can check or money order, or money order, cashier's check. So it's not anything that we're forcing on the public, it's an option for them. So,
Amen, Jim.
For the $5 to clear that, the way we figured that, at $200, when the fines are $200 or less, it's a break even. When it's $200 or more, that's when we go behind as far
Okay.
as having to pay the bank.
Okay.
That's what the $200 a month
Oh, okay.
is. People, that means we collected a pretty darn good fine
Yes.
on the ones that,
Yes, and we have been collecting some pretty good fines, so, yeah.
motion, final, Mr. Comments, all in favor? And what did that include as far as the justice fees? We didn't,
I think it should be universal within the county.
I think you're working with the tax office, Russ,
Credit card
for the
situations,
credit cards.
This is for countywide.
if you don't do it countywide, then you're gonna end up with situations to where the 2.25% might be 2.75% or whatever, because it's based upon what the
Well,
credit card companies perceive as volume.
we'll amend that amendment to make it for, including the justice fees also, with the caveat that if the justice fees has a difference with it, to get on the agenda and come to court for reversal of that. Item 14, appointment of election judges, assistant judges, early voting board, and resolution board, and on the November 4th, 2014 general election.
We have received the election judges from the Republican Party and from the Democrat Party, and we have put them together, and we are here for your suggestion as to which ones you would like to serve. Ms. Ruby, did you want to come up here? No? Okay, all right. We'll start with box 101. Okay. They have suggested for election judge Loretta Carter or Virginia Gloca. Ms. Gloca has been serving there before. We would suggest that, if I can make a suggestion, or do you want to choose?
No, that's.
Okay, all right. Let me, Judge, may I get a pencil so I can check them off? Because I got two lists to work off.
Have a pencil.
Is that pencil? Right. In a particular case, if Ms. Gloca is not able to serve in this survivor, then it would go to the next person there. Fidel Flores would be serving with her, and he'll serve there. Okay.
We need to go on the time to go them all.
However, how,
As long as y'all,
we were gonna take, okay. Is that why you switched, oh, okay, we didn't know if it was just a type of, what we're gonna do, Judge, if you don't wanna go through the whole list, we're gonna take the top names on each one of them.
okay?
Okay?
Y'all like
We
that?
are then gonna go to the top name here.
Okay.
Then if they cannot serve, okay, then we're gonna go to the second name. Okay?
Y'all both in agreement on that?
Yes.
And y'all have any other?
No, no.
That's fine.
That's fine, okay, all right, then we'll work on the list, it's not a problem. Okay, all right, if I can have a motion to that effect, to accept the
Commissioner
agenda.
Gomez, Commissioner Morales, all in favor?
Okay, I wanted to address one other little thing under that, Judge. I have not had a chance, I will tell you, to take a look at the map for the ESD number too, for the sales tax. What we want to do, Judge, is piggyback onto my election here. Okay, the locations would be the same as that. The election judges would be probably pulled from here. If we have suggestions for both Democrat and Republican, and we don't need that many people, you're supposed to have 3, sometimes you have 4, sometimes you have 5, depending on the location. We would like to use those names to go on to the ESD, and they would be at a separate table in the same room with them.
Like
Because-
performing the same function.
Yes, they would do, because their ballot will be separate than ours, because it is not a county-wide sales tax. It is only for that area. Okay, is that it?
So the voter would know that ESD 2 would be the table.
Yes, and the table would be adjoining, it would not be anywhere, and like in early voting, you have to go through the doorway. Well, in order to leave the building, you have to go through that doorway. You-
And signage is important.
Right, and they do tell them as they come in, if they see that they're in that area, that's what the map is so important. They could look at the map and send them next door. I mean, next door means they're gonna walk from here to where John is. That's what next door is. And it's in the same area. You don't go outside the door, you're talking, going through a doorway.
We're not gonna talk about people that miss the opportunity.
Did you wanna? Oh, yes, yes, yes.
As conspicuous as possible, and like I said, signage is very, very important, because many people come in, you know,
And the,
set, vote one way, you know, it's important.
Judge
Judge
Quinn,
Quinn,
we had, the last ESD election we had, it worked very well, and the election judges and the clerks kept the people funneled in that direction, made sure that they understood that this was their responsibility to go vote for that. So it worked very well to have a separate table, and then they were funneled.
So you probably will be in 3 locations, right?
That's what we're thinking. I haven't looked at the map, but that's what we discussed Friday evening.
And that's something else that you made me think of, when you said that the election judges are very important in that, because the map will dictate there'll be people voting there that will not necessarily be voting the ESD.
Right,
So-
that's, okay. All right, got a motion, okay. I'm ready for 15 then.
Okay, selection of polling places on November 4th, 2014, general election.
Okay, those I would like to go through, they won't take very long. On the 101, we have changed it. We were at the Remax building. Pepperoni's Pizza will allow us to rent that building. Commissioner Gomez has already gone out there and spoken to somebody. Rose followed up with a phone call, and there was an agreement already made, and it was at a lesser amount that we had paid in the primary. So we're good to go at Pepperoni's. Sacred Heart will remain the same, Cañada Verde, SPGST. Those are yours, okay. Now Paul's, yours will be Polk City Hall, American Legion Hall, Wilson County Shelburne, 3 Oaks Volunteer Fire Department in Dewey's, and Kosciuszko Parish Hall. There are no changes on this, okay. Ricky, Livonia, Volunteer Fire Department, Oakwood Country Church, SS Water Supply Corporation, Sutherland Springs Community Building, and yours remain all the same. Are you okay with that? Okay. Commissioner Wyman, Stockdale Community Building, Tricaster Country Store, Oak Hills Community Church. And no changes on those.
I'd love to do something different from the Concaster area, but we don't have any options.
Some people from down in that area. On that side of Cibolo, has to go all the way to, way up there. But it's, I think it's important for everyone to understand that early voting goes on a couple of weeks, and that's particularly in that area, to let the folks know that early voting and where it will be and when it will be, and knowing that they don't have to travel that far, it would be.
We've had it in Livonia and in Floresville, early voting, we've had it,
Yes.
and so
Yes,
a lot of
we don't
those
stop
folks.
till, oh.
Exactly.
And we will address that at
The
another
mobile
meeting
voting will
once
be
we.
there, you know, and those out just between 1922 and Cibolo there, that'd be considered their election day, that'd be a good thing.
There was rumors of a church that was gonna be built out in that whole Concaster area that would be convenient, but that hasn't happened yet.
the presidential substation right there at that central corner.
Yeah.
Would make it more centralized than it is now.
But that area is actually, unless there's some way to work around it, that area is actually precinct 3,
Oh, I see.
where they're located. And I don't know if there's any way
That's
to work.
the highway there makes a difference.
That would be ideal, because it's
So-
right there.
So actually, the shopping center and the station is in precinct 4. But it- yeah.
And there is consideration of a commercial center right across from the station. And if that comes in, then we might have an area there by the presidential election, certainly not by the gubernatorial election.
On those locations that stated, motion, Commissioner Morales, Commissioner Wiley, all in favor?
Whenever we have that ready, we will submit them to Mr. Kenny and to your attorney, so that you'll have that information. Okay, once we've ironed everything out. Okay.
Item 16, Edmund Baker, Health and Public Safety, discuss and approve an action fire ban. I believe you spoke last meeting and you said if it didn't rain, we probably gonna need that.
Yeah, we also predicted the drought index would be up to 500 to 508 as of today. And if we don't do it today, if it doesn't rain, it'll be in the 600s come next commissioner's court. So I'm recommending that we go ahead and put the fire ban on.
Motion, Commissioner Wiley, Commissioner Fowle, all in favor?
Judge, I laid it up there somewhere for you to sign.
Wait.
Y'all pass. Now maybe it'll rain more.
Good. That'll work.
I got burned back. That means that you can't burn nothing at all.
On the barrel.
Edwin, you would have to address that.
Yeah, it just depends on what you're burning. If it's household trash, you burn in a barrel with a screen during daylight hours, preferably morning hours, and stay there with it, you can do that. But if you're burning brush or something along those lines, you're gonna have to call the office and get permission. And that's on a day-to-day.
Because I have a little area, like on the side of the house, where I do my burning, like pieces of old wood and stuff,
Yeah, you live in a subdivision?
county, out towards, going towards Post on 181.
Okay, sometimes we allow those. You just have to call the office.
I mean, I have 2 barrels for
Yeah.
house trash, but
Right.
I have a different pile.
It's just
for-
getting dry enough to where you need to be really, really careful about burning anything other than your household trash.
Okay.
Item 17, Leanne Hoshak, EMC. Item A, utility permits. Permit number 1 would be 503 Southern Spring Water Supply, Precinct 3, Faulkner Road, review and approve. That's been gone over, Commissioner Morales. Motion, Commissioner Morales, second. Commissioner Wiley, all in favor? And item 2 and 3 under A would be Southern Springs Water Supply and Meadow Grove Lane and Rolling Oaks Drive. Motion, Commissioner Wiley, second, Commissioner Morales, all in favor? Item B, temporary water lines. 1, EOG Resources, Precinct 2, County Road 228, 215, 207, 214, and 216. Information only. Item C is pipeline crossing permit. Permit number 90, EOG Resources, Precinct 2, County Road 219, review and approve. You reviewed that? Motion, Commissioner Fowle, second, Commissioner Comments, all in favor? G, non-standard plat variance, 1 US 181 North 1758, precinct 2, and 2, discuss and take action.
This, non-standard plat came before the committee last week, was given a favorable recommendation. The property owner owns 10.02 acres off of 181, north of Lawrenceville, and, is wanting to sell 2 acres of that. They've met all the road frontage requirements. TxDOT is, only allowing a 24-foot combination shared drive for the 2 tracks that are now being cleared. So it was given a favorable recommendation by the committee with that stipulation.
Motion Commissioner Pyle, second Commissioner White, all in favor? Thank you. Item 18, payroll personnel changes.
We have Jonathan Martinez was hired 7/29/2014, Department 420, $2,250 a month as a correction officer. Melissa Lopez was hired 8/4/2014, Department 420, $2,250 a month as a correction officer. And Carol Reisman Schneider resigned 7/30/2014, Department 420 as a correction officer. Any others?